and welcome to Playtime Online. This is Institute of Play's webinar series that allows us to connect and share our work with you. I'm Amna Siddiqui, the producer and moderator of this program. Today, we're joined by several teachers, designers, and middle school students who are all here to talk about one thing, and that's beating the boss. This afternoon, we are discussing what boss level is and what it looks like from an array of perspectives. Stay tuned in and learn the ins and outs of this unique week-long design challenge and find out how Chicago and New York City students are demonstrating their understanding of 21st century skills like design and systems thinking and socio-emotional learning. Now, let's meet our participants. Allison, do you want to start?
Sure. Hi, I'm Allison. I'm from BrainPop. Do you want me to?
Yeah. How about you talk a little bit more about your role in boss level?
Okay, so I was invited for the second year in a row to participate as a judge at Quest to Learn in New York for the 6th grade boss level on Rube Goldberg machines.
Great. And Arana and Nicholas, do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. You want to go first?
Okay.
I'm Nicholas, and I'm a 6th grader from 603, and we did a Rube Goldberg for pulling out a tissue from a tissue box.
And did you group won, right?
Yeah, we won for creativeness.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. And my name's Arana Shapiro, and I'm the co-director of school at Quest to Learn. So my role in boss level was really help facilitating the development of projects, making sure teachers had what they needed so they could do different things, and more of a kind of vision of what boss level looks like from 6th through 8th grade.
Awesome. And Dan?
Yes. Hi. So I'm Dan O'Keefe, and I work with Institute of Play, and I'm a learning designer. And along with Arana, I spend most of my time at Quest to Learn School. I work with teachers throughout the year, but for boss level, I work early on in the planning process with teachers, all over the place with the planning, and I help facilitate the week as it goes, whether it's logistics or assessment, and I just kind of connect people during that process when people think that they need things from others, and I help with the technology integration.
And Kate and Sasha?
Hi, Sasha's going to go first.
Hi, I'm Sasha Koika, and I'm a 7th grade student at Quest, and I was in Kate's boss level this year.
And my name's Kate, and I'm a teacher at Quest, a Code World teacher, and this is, I guess I've done 3 boss level experiences, and this year we focused at MoMA, the Museum of Modern Art.
Great. And Patrick, Brianna, Alex, and Taylor, do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, sure. I'm Patrick Hoover. I'm one of our curriculum specialists here at Quest, and I'm responsible for helping to design and build out our boss levels. And I also have a home base, which is the group of students the way in which we group our students during boss level challenges. So I'm on the ground with them throughout the whole thing.
I'm Brianna Rube. I'm a 6th grade student at ChicagoQuest, and my home base won one of the Rube Goldberg machines, so the boss level, and I was the MVP.
Hello, I'm Alex. I'm a 7th grade student here at ChicagoQuest. I'm in Mr. Hoover's home base, and
All right.
yeah.
I'm Taylor. I'm an 8th grader, and this is my 2nd year at ChicagoQuest. So we did all the boss levels last year, and then we did them again this year in different ways.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. It's really awesome having all of you on this afternoon, especially you students. I know that you're sacrificing your lunch hour for this. And before things get too confusing, I'd like to just reiterate that we're joined today by 2 schools, Quest to Learn in New York City and ChicagoQuest in Chicago. And Arana, Dan, Kate, Sasha, and Nicholas, they're all from Quest to Learn in New York, and Patrick, Brianna, Alex, and Taylor, who are all sharing the same screen, so that may make it easier. They're from ChicagoQuest. And I'd like to remind our viewers that if at any point you'd like to ask today's speakers or students a question, just please click on the blue Participate text under this video on the right-hand side. We'll be spending the last 15 minutes or so of the webinar answering your questions during our Q&A portion. So let's open up today's discussion with you, Dan. I want to ask you to talk more about Boss Level. What is it, and where does it take its inspiration from?
So it's a space of challenge. It's a time at the end of not every semester, but some semesters, where students are asked to face a specific type of design challenge, and that requires collaboration from them. That requires them to think about the way systems are constructed and to go through a process of brainstorming, prototyping, play testing, and then thinking about what happened during that test and making changes, so iteration as well. So clearly it takes some of its inspiration from the world of design, from the field of the young field of systems thinking, and then other theories like project-based learning and collaborative learning theory.
And was it developed specifically for Quest to Learn?
Arana, do you want to take that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so the idea of Boss Level, you're asking, Amna?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So yeah. So the idea of a Boss Level and the term Boss Level. Well, the term Boss Level comes from gaming, from the gaming world. So where you
right.
At the end of the game, you know, you meet the boss and you have to conquer and complete some kind of challenge that you've worked for a long time to build the skills for. So that's where the term comes from. And for us, it is a unique space, and I believe it is unique to Quest to Learn. It is similar in a lot of ways to when schools do a kind of integrated projects week or some kind of week where the school is more project-based and the curriculum changes a bit. But the Boss Level and the specifics around Boss Level were developed for the Quest schools.
Great, and I understand that ChicagoQuest and Quest to Learn, they offer their students two very different Boss Level experiences, and I wanted to quickly run through what each of the grades do during Boss Level at both schools. So Patrick, if you could very briefly just give us a very high-level rundown of what each grade at ChicagoQuest does, I think that would be very helpful.
Yeah, sure. So what we try to do is we try to have each grade level experience the exact same sort of theme during Boss Level. And so what we'll end up doing is just sort of modding or iterating the challenge. So in the fall, we have students build with an understanding of machines and engineering and design thinking skills in that space. There we're really looking at the larger system structure. So it's Rube Goldberg, but then it's complex. So in 7th grade, students have to build 2 Rube Goldberg machines that interweave with each other. And then in 8th grade, we have to sort of, students have to take all the parts and pieces of a bike and put that together into the Rube Goldberg machine. And then sort of in our second trimester, we do stuff that's around digital storytelling, digital narrative, and really looking to think about how those sort of systems can change and much more the dynamics aspect of it. And then at the end, we do sort of a field day, CQ Olympics, carnival, kind of larger, big systems working together, lots of feedback, lots of participants. So really targeting the big systems ideas that are thematically woven into their classes during whichever trimester we work in.
Cool. And Dan or Arana, could you explain what this looks like at Quest to Learn?
Sure, Dan.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, whatever. Dan, go.
Yeah, I'll do it. Actually, Arana, do you want to talk about 6th grade, and then I'll talk about 7th and 8th?
Sure. So 6th grade is very similar to how ChicagoQuest runs their Boss Level. For 6th grade, we have one challenge that all 6th graders are working on during the Boss Level time. So in the fall, usually, it happened for us in the winter this year for extenuating circumstances. But in the fall, usually students are working on building Rube Goldberg machines, which is what they just completed. And in this, we only have 2 boss levels throughout the year, and in the spring, they're also doing this kind of field day experience. So for us, it's very similar to what ChicagoQuest does. It's all around the kind of systems thinking ideas that they've been working on that have been integrated into their classes throughout the trimester, and we're asking them to bring those system thinking ideas to bear on one particular challenge. So they need to use what they've gained, the knowledge and skills that they've gained, content knowledge as well, but also the systems thinking skills and ideas to kind of solve this big complex challenge. And they work in small groups, and the whole 6th grade class is working on the same challenge. What's different about New York from Chicago is that while ChicagoQuest in 7th and 8th grade, the school is still working on the same challenge, ours varies a little bit, and I'll let Dan speak to 7th and 8th grade.
Yeah, so on 7th and 8th, the students, again, are broken down into small groups like the 6th grade, but the design challenges are created teacher by teacher. So it's basically inquiry-based kind of learning and professional development for the teacher, because they follow kind of their desires and their interests to find the type of design challenge they would be interested in taking students through. And I'll give examples. And then students are offered kind of mini advertisements or blurbs about what those design challenges are going to be, and the students pick based on what interests them, and we try to match up students by interest as much as possible. So, and during that time, it's all about systems thinking and design thinking. So in order to kind of face or defeat the design challenge, students will still have to think about different systems thinking tools, such as causal maps, such as the parts of a system, such as relationships within a system, and perhaps unintentional consequences of actions taken in a system. So some boss levels from this past year or previous years would be to design a course for parkour participants, traceurs. If you're not familiar with parkour, it's trying to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible, whether it's running or flipping or rolling, whatever. So one design challenge is to make a course for others, or to make a video tutorial about how to become a parkour participant. Some other ones we had Operation Paint, which the challenge was to think about the space of the school itself and try to figure out what would be best, hallway painting, posters, whatever, for that space in order to improve the school. And one other example I'll give right now is a teacher wanted to do something about bullying, so the design challenge was to create a toolkit for other schools, I think younger grades, like 4th through 6th, in how they could face bullying and break the system of bullying. So they created a toolkit which had several different components that they actually brought into other schools and got feedback from those students about those toolkits. But there are many other examples.
Awesome. Does anybody have anything to add?
I do.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that one.
So I wanted to add that last year I was on the 8th grade team, and this year I was on the 7th grade team. And the 8th grade team last year really focused on, at least for the spring semester, on feedback loops, and all the 8th grade teachers had sort of a social action project. So we were looking for, someone might have to jump in here and give me the right vocabulary, but like key sort of almost like a tipping point or key points in the system that would create a lot of change. And I forgot the vocabulary, I'm sorry, but with this leverage points, thanks, Lauren. And with the 7th grade team this year, like Dan said, we could design our own on challenges. There wasn't an overall theme for this first boss level.
Yeah, I didn't mention Kate's because it was actually one of the reasons Kate is in this, because Kate's was so excellent, and you should definitely talk much more about that as we go on.
Can I jump in really quickly?
Yeah, go for it. Yep.
Also just to understand the trajectory at Quest to Learn, because it's a little more complicated, is just that in the 6th grade, the design challenges are really, really developed by the curriculum team and given to the students. And in the 7th and 8th grade, we really look to the teachers to start, but to develop the challenges. But then there is this aspect of the students being involved in the development of the challenges as well, based on what they're interested in and what they understand a system to how their systems of thinking ideas can be applied to a challenge. So it's really trying to move from a very teacher curriculum directed space to a more student directed space. And that's the kind of vision of the trajectory.
I see. Okay, cool. So I think to sum up, although the boss level projects vary between ChicagoQuest and Quest to Learn, it's safe to say that they're designed with the same goals in mind. And Arana, I was wondering if you could talk about some of the specific goals of boss level.
Sure. So I think similar to what I was saying before, it's really meant to be a space of defense. So from an academic perspective, I think the goals of boss level are to give students a space where they can take these ideas and skills and learning that they've been working with for an entire trimester or semester, and extend them by really using them and doing something with them that requires them to really dig in and create. From another perspective, I think the goals of boss level, it's very collaborative, so it requires students to work collaboratively. It's again design focused, so it tends to activate some of those skills that aren't necessarily considered in a public or charter school to be the academic skills, but we value highly. So it's really where those kinds of collaboration and design and systems thinking and those skills that we really believe are 21st century really important skills are able to be highlighted and kind of amplified for a week or two.
Great, thank you. And I want to also talk about how the students benefit from boss level, and I'm wondering if Allison, while you were judging the students at boss level, their projects, at least in New York City, what skills did you see them learning, and did any of the skills surprise you?
Sure. Well, first of all, you know, as a former classroom teacher, I just think about traditional forms of assessment, and I'm just so blown away by what these two schools have in place. From the moment I walked into the schools, there's posters on the walls. There's such a high energy, positive energy, which is not traditionally associated with assessment. So I just think that's such a super cool format that they've figured out. What I saw the students doing, and I think I commented on this to the students at the ceremony at the end, was the kind of thing that we do at BrainPop regularly. So they're working collaboratively, they're solving problems, they're thinking creatively, they're applying content knowledge. So in the boss level that I was looking at, they were dealing, and actually I'm going to share my screen for a second. I'm going to share a rubric that the kids were evaluated based on. Let's see if it comes up okay.
Yep, it looks good.
Okay, good. So you can see from the rubric the kinds of areas where the kids were assessed on. So not only the content, which is simple machines, and the kids spoke so articulately about, they really dived into specifics. So when we walked into a room to look at a machine, all of the students had roles. There were kids who were pointing out the different transitions. They talked about the background and how they came up with their design. And I was just so impressed how truly linked to real life the whole project was. So those are the kinds of things that I saw as a judge. I think the rubric, too, is a really useful tool for any teachers who are listening in and thinking, like, this would be a really cool thing to implement. This might be a good tool to modify to create your own version.
Awesome. Thanks, Allison. And we're going to get to the students in just a minute. They're going to share their awesome projects from Boss Level this year. But before we do, I'm also curious about the students using the design process during the week. And Dan, I was wondering if you could talk about the different parts of the design process students are engaging in, and maybe even how the process itself helps reinforce the 21st century learning standards.
Yeah, so you know, it's different for every Boss Level, for every kind of content area that you try to do it in. The design thinking for parkour is going to be different from the design thinking for the bullying toolkit, in terms of how long you spend on each step of the process. For instance, for parkour, you might have students who are at various levels, so the differentiation has to happen there while they're learning parkour. So there's actually quite a bit of playtesting happening earlier on, and only then can you start prototyping kind of pathways for the person to run through, or what the video tutorial might look through. Whereas with the bullying toolkit, I would say the kind of inspiration slash kind of anchoring in what the topic's about can happen slightly faster, and the students can start prototyping ideas a little faster. So, and I'll screen share just for a second here too. I can show some of the maps that the bullying group was using. One sec. So this is actually not it. This is the Operation Paint, which I'll get to. But for bullying, can you all see that?
Yep.
Okay. So at the beginning, this is actually assigned for their final presentation, but you can see that they're making...
Can you zoom in, Dan? I see that there's like a zoom in option. Cool.
Yes, thank you. So you can see that, you know, this is a simple map. There's a central node of bullying and different aspects that might connect to it. I'm going to keep going because there's some other maps as well. This is getting more to the kind of the causal map thing, where you start to connect, for instance, possibly of low confidence leads to insecurity, may lead to self-harm, may lead to hurting others. So this was students kind of at the beginning of the week trying to figure out the different causes of and effects of bullying and possible unintended consequences of aspects of it. And so this was really an early stage in their process before they started to make toolkits. Let me see. Yeah,
Can I jump in, Dan?
Please.
So I just want to talk about how I structured the actual plan of Boss Level. So the design thinking sort of layout is, there's like 5 steps: empathy, defining a problem, ideating, prototyping, and playtesting. And so when we present the kids with a design challenge, I actually structured the week so that sort of every day they'd be doing essentially one of those things. So maybe the first thing they're doing, well, we were at the Museum of Modern Art, is empathizing. So we walked around and we looked at a lot of different works of art. Then we were really defining the problem. So Nate, my co-teacher, and I picked a topic. We called it escape, as sort of the challenge for them, that they would have to come up with some interactive art exhibit that dealt with that theme. And then we brainstormed and ideated, and then we prototyped. Then we actually had the kids present their ideas to the education directors at MoMA to help them get feedback, and then they play tested it with the students, and then finally they did present. So I like to use the design thinking. So I think when Arana was talking about how there's skills that the students are using, that design thinking is sort of implicit in the whole year through different games and analyzing games. But then when they're actually making their own, when the students are making their own projects, then they're really the design process is made explicit in a way that it isn't in the regular curriculum because there just isn't time. So I just wanted to add that really quick.
Thanks, Kate. Does anybody Dan, do you want to finish up, or does anybody want to add to that, or should we go to the students' projects?
I can say one more thing about the process with the bullying toolkit. So two aspects, well, there were several aspects to the bullying toolkit that they made. One was they wanted to make a game to help students, let me go back to my face. I know that's very important. One thing was to make a game to help students kind of experience what bullying would be like in possible situations. Another thing was kind of an informational pamphlet about it and possible things you can do with it. So those were two tools that they took into classrooms and basically did user testing with these students to see what they thought about it, whether it helped them in any way. I mean, it's a really quick turnaround, one day in a classroom for about an hour or something with these willing schools. But that is the playtesting phase. So it was interesting because one group that I worked with, they were the group making their game. They prototyped so within this big design cycle, they had their own mini design cycle of, okay, we're going to make a game, we're prototyping a game, we're going to take 6th graders at Quest to Learn, playtest that game upstairs, iterate, bring that iterated game to an external school, playtest the game with them as part of the toolkit that we're playtesting in general, come back and think about that game some more and make an iteration. So there's some cycles within cycles. It's pretty cool.
Sweet, that's really cool. So let's switch gears and let's have the students discuss their boss level projects. And what I'd like to do is start with the 6th grade students and then work our way up through 8th. So Patrick and then Dan, do you want to quickly introduce or I guess Arana in this case, do you guys want to introduce what your students were working on, and then we'll let them take it from there?
Okay.
Cool. So Patrick, do you want to?
Yeah, sure. So Brianna here is going to talk about, I think, it could be really good for us to talk about the same experience. So Brianna is going to talk about her very first boss level ever, which would be the Rube Goldberg project. And then we'll have a few sort of pictures a little slideshow to kind of go over while she's kind of talking about those experiences.
Awesome.
So, I don't know, Arana, does that sound all right with you?
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, and then we can do the same, Nicholas. If you want, we can introduce before, or we can introduce after you're done.
Yeah, why don't you guys go before?
Oh, okay. No, I just meant, okay, all right. So, you want us to go first? Okay, so I'm going to introduce Nicholas. He's in 6th grade at Quest to Learn, and this was our first boss level, and it was the building of a Rube Goldberg machine. So students this is the fourth time that we've done this at Quest to Learn, and so it was the 4th time that the teachers have also done this. So it's been very kind of streamlined at this point, and they've done a lot of work on getting it to a really good place. So the kids were given they took a series of kind of little courses that taught them what they needed to know about Rube Goldberg machines. So they learned about what a Rube Goldberg machine is. They had a review about force and motion and work. They learned how to work in a team effectively. They learned how to design something. And then they had a few days where they worked in their home-based groups, same as in Chicago, to really build. And Nicholas was he was with his home base, but a different teacher, right? Yeah. And his group actually won for most creative, and I'm going to let him talk about the week, so the classes, and then the building, and then what it was like to exhibit to the judges. Yeah? Okay, and we actually don't have pictures to run at the same time, but I think we may have some pictures afterwards to show. Okay, ready? Yeah.
So our challenge was to make a Rube Goldberg that makes a tissue come out of a tissue box, and we had some difficult times when we weren't coordinating. Wait, cooperating with each other. And we had classes like Rube Goldberg, and we went to that class and we learned about how a Rube Goldberg machine works and what it needs to become a Rube Goldberg machine and how to create one. So we had a Rube Goldberg machine that started from the really back end of our room, and our theme was a rainforest. So we would bring in some decorations like fake plants and a lot of green papers so we can decorate around the room. And our Rube Goldberg started with the marble and it rolled down a ramp. And once it ended at the ramp, it would go on another ramp and hit a domino that would cause a lever to fall, and the other end of the lever would hit a cart with some weight on a ramp, and it would go down the ramp with some weight, and it would hit a tape, and it had a pulley that's attached to the tape, and once the tape would fall, it would pull up a kind of a small wall to let some marbles roll down the ramp and into a cup, where another pulley comes in, and the cup has some weight already in, but the marbles will push the cup out of its place, and then a tissue box on the table with the tissue that is stapled will have a magnet that will pull it up so that the tissue will come out.
And so, as you can see, it was very complex and very highly designed, right? How did it feel to create the machine and then to show it to like professionals?
At first, I felt really excited, but when you start to build it, it seemed really difficult because you have to find a really good place for things to work, and if sometimes some things won't work, and we'll have to iterate it, and we would make changes so that it would work out. For example, like our ramp was too low, causing the marble to slow down, and so we had to kind of shift everything in the beginning a little further back and make the ramp a little higher so that the marble will go fast enough to hit the dominoes. And
cool. And actually, I think I just found a photo of this event, so of your project. So I'm going to share that quickly. But keep talking. Let me see here.
I felt kind of nervous when the judges came in because everything might not work out, but it kind of worked out, but not really at the same time.
Yeah, it did.
Because
you had a little mishap.
Yeah. So.
Awesome. So I think we're running out of time, but this looks so cool. This looks so cool. But I'm wondering if Patrick, if you can quickly talk about what you guys did over at ChicagoQuest.
Yeah. So Brianna will just tell you about her experience, and I'll just overlay kind of a slideshow while she's doing that.
Okay, so the first thing that we did at ChicagoQuest was we did workshops with three different home bases in one classroom. So we went to BSP, Code World, and The Way Things Work, and we did different workshops. And so that helped us to learn how to build the machines and what we had to do, and teamwork and just all that group work and stuff. And then we went to our home bases and we worked on our machines. We did like a little layout of what we had to do, and it was really cool working together, but it was also like complicated too.
So Brianna, can you talk about what it was like when the judges came in? Were you nervous? Were you afraid it wasn't going to work? Talk to some of that.
Yeah, so at first when the judges came in, we were kind of pretty confident. I think we were overconfident, and our machine didn't really work the first time. But then it worked the second time when the judges came in, because I think we felt a little bit better.
So did you have to iterate your machine, or just by luck it worked? Did you tinker?
We had to change a lot, because like at first we made like a trampoline with like a balloon piece, but then that wasn't working because we couldn't like predict where it was gonna go. Like some went straight, some went this way or that way. So we had to change it, and we ended up taking out the little trampoline thing, and we ended up just making like we put the golf ball down and it rolled down. It hit a roll of duct tape, which rolled down across the box, and then it dropped another box onto like a lever, and then it would boom, and then it turned on lights. So that's how our machine worked.
Cool, thanks. So let's move on to the 7th grade projects, and I want to have Kate and Sasha speak first about working inside of MoMA and what your project entailed.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Did you guys?
Sorry, we're in the same room with Arana now.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we were working at MoMA, and the goal was that the students would create an interactive art exhibit that embodied the theme of escape. And we actually used the gallery space that was in the education building. And like I said before, we went through the design process. And it was really cool because I love the Rube Goldberg project, and I love that they're all doing different tasks. And this was even more differentiated and more individualized. Every 2 or 3 kids got to create their own project. So Sasha's going to explain what her project is right now.
Okay, but sorry guys, before you
start, like escape, and basically what we had to do was create a project that showed like in one way where you felt trapped, and then in another you felt like you're escaping. And what me and my partner Angelina did was we took the idea of like nature, and we put like, because we know in the city it's all, you know, like fake flowers and Febreze and everything is covered like with that fake smell. But what we did was we actually like let people smell like the fake ones and the real flowers, and we asked them which one they liked better, and then they were supposed to draw a flower, and after they did that, we gave them like a card about pollution and a card about, and like a flower seed, so like, you know, they have both aspects of it and they can feel escape and trapped.
Yeah, I know you guys can't see us. We're not quite sure why. So maybe Amna, you can come back to us and we can show some videos or pictures later.
I have a question for Kate and Sasha though. I know we can't see you, but I really want to know about one particular project that I'm about to show a picture of. And I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I want to know what it was about. I'll show you one second.
Okay.
Okay, it's in the Escape MoMA category, and it is this one.
Oh, okay, so
what is this?
That was Amanda's project and Angelina.
Shayna.
Oh, sorry, Shayna. And they decided that they wanted people to feel the idea of escaping by actually making them feel trapped. And I guess trapped in that they were sort of blind. So they had this theme of it being like a spa. And instead of, you know, putting your hands into a little rectangle at the nail salon to get your nails to dry. They put their hands into this box that had the yellow stripes on it, and then they actually made them touch different things. So it kind of had like a Halloween theme to it, but the way it sort of embodied the theme was that you're sort of trapped by not really being able to perceive what's going on and sort of losing one of your senses of sight, really. I actually had blindfolds on too, and so they had them touch, what was it, like spaghetti?
Yeah,
Bread, bagels, cotton balls, and it was really fun for the participants because they realized how much we rely on our sense of sight, especially in like the visual age. And so it was kind of a cool thing that they did. And they actually videotaped, we don't have the videos here, but they videotaped everyone's reaction. And we had a nice laugh after that. So.
Cool, thank you. I didn't get a chance to ask you during the exhibition day. So.
Yeah. Any other questions, Amna?
Not yet. I want to quickly get to ChicagoQuest. Patrick, could you introduce your 7th grader and maybe talk about what you guys did over there?
Yeah, sure. So this is Alex. And I think Alex is maybe going to talk a little bit more about, this was his 5th boss level. And Alex is one of our more uber-invested students in boss level, so he really loves this aspect of the school.
It's true. It's true.
So I think maybe more specifically just about boss level on a whole, Alex wants to talk about.
Yeah, go for it.
So, one of the biggest challenges that's come up over like just the whole 5 boss levels I've participated in is that, especially at the beginning, our home base, we didn't really work together that well at the start. We didn't know much about each other. We couldn't figure out how to communicate with each other the right way. We didn't know how we showed each other stress. That would be our bell. But we had a really tough time on our first boss level, which was the Rube Goldberg machine, 6th grade last year. In the end, we got pretty close to beating the boss, but it took us like a whole day just to get anger, stress, just people not understanding how we should work as a team.
So Alex, how did that compare to this final boss level that you just did?
This final boss level was one of the least stressful boss levels I have ever participated in, because we all knew how to work together well. We know how to communicate. We know how to recognize each other's stress, and not really like get mad at people for doing something that they might not be supposed to doing, and more take it into more calm matters and talk it out instead of just yelling at them, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? You're not supposed to be doing that. Get off of that kind of stuff.
So Alex, have you beaten every boss level? Is that important that you always have to win and always have to beat it, or do you find the experience to be...
I find the experience a lot of fun. Even if we don't beat the boss level, we've only beaten three boss levels.
Maybe 2.
No, 2. Just 2. Just 2. We beat the digital media one last year and the Olympics one we did last year. But at first I was really like, we have to beat boss level. There's no point in this unless we beat boss level. But now it's just like, this is really fun. We get to do a whole bunch of cool stuff with my friends, because most of my friends are in my home base, and we just try to have as much fun as we can, but yet still focus on the boss level.
Awesome. That's us.
Thank you. Oh man, that was such a great perspective. Thanks for saying those words. So I guess we have one 8th grader, and he's just from, or she's just from ChicagoQuest. So could you talk about your experience this year?
Yeah, this is Taylor. And Taylor can talk about her last one. They had a really specific challenge this last one. And maybe you can talk about the sort of the big essential question that you had to answer with your video. And we'll show maybe a little bit of it.
Oh.
Okay.
So we had an essential question, and it was, what do you think would be the outcome if you brought together kids from 75 different neighborhoods and like they all came to ChicagoQuest? And so we had to put it in a documentary. And my home base, we wanted to show, like I had the idea that we had a map, and then we could put like points on our map, like, because some of us live really far away from each other, so it would look better and we would look more diverse if we just put our points and then like put ChicagoQuest in the middle, because we all came together to that one school. And you know, you learned a lot about your home base, and then it was good like going into high school in the summer or next year. It's like, it's a good thing to do because you learn how to work with other people and you learn new things about people around you. But in high school, you have to work with people a lot, like lab partners and all types of stuff and projects. So working with people that you don't see a lot, because I don't travel with my home base, like we're all in different domains, so we get to see each other for that week, and it's different because we don't normally work with each other. So not only do we have to get used to working with them, we still, you know, everyone has conflicts, so we have to work through that so that we can get to the end and beat the boss.
So Taylor, have you valued the experience? Did you find this particular challenge to be of interest?
Yeah, I think this one was my favorite because the other ones, I'm kind of good at building, and I'm good with doing like voice, because we got to put like ourselves into it. Like everybody added something different to the whole project in my home base. And the other ones, you know, we're not a machine. We're not a Rube Goldberg machine. So it was just nice, you know, putting ourselves into our project and showing everybody.
So here's a little bit of their project.
Chicago Children's Choir. I'm short. I'm 5 feet. Not 5'1" or anything. I'm pretty short. Yep, that's about it.
And now for each of our points of views and opinions on the essential question.
I think it creates a broader horizon. It creates diversity instead of uniformity.
I think it would create a unique perspective on the world because you're bringing in different people with different personalities.
All right. Thanks, Taylor.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for sharing. That was so great. So I want to back up just a little bit and talk to Dan and Patrick and Ivana about how you created these challenges to begin with. And I mean, just in case, I'm imagining that teachers watching this may want to create their own design challenges like this, like you do for Boss Level. So how do you begin that process?
I don't know, Rana, do you want to go first since you were the first starter?
Yeah. So the challenges that they're doing in Chicago were actually come out of work that was done to open up the first Quest school and then subsequent Quest schools. And the challenges, and for the Quest to Learn school in New York now, those are the 6th grade challenges. We've moved to teacher-created activities for or teacher-created projects for 7th and 8th grade, but the Chicago Quest is still doing the ones that we created for the 6th grade. So the way that those were developed were we use as we plan for all of our curriculum and all of our experiences at the school, we use Understanding by Design, and that is a backwards design framework for curriculum planning. And so the way that we started was to think about what are these big ideas, enduring understandings and essential questions that we want the students to walk away with when they finish this boss level challenge. And those all, for us, for boss level, come from these bigger system thinking and design thinking ideas. So first we start to think about what we want the students to walk away with. And then we think about what is some kind of big project or challenge they can work on that will give rise to those bigger enduring understanding and essential questions. And then it's a process of developing, thinking about what they need to know, be able to do, and what they need to know in order to complete that challenge. And then how can we design activities that will allow them to learn what they need to learn in order to be able to complete the challenge. So the Rube Goldberg design is a really good one because that's really all about understanding the parts of a system, really discrete parts of a system, and the 6th grade students have been learning that throughout the entire trimester. And so that the end of trimester and the boss level allows them a space to develop those skills a little further. So they are learning about parts of a system. We know that that's what we want them to do, and we thought the Rube Goldberg machine was a really great way to get them to really think deeply about what are the parts of the system. And so then it's really thinking about what do they need to learn to be able to create a Rube Goldberg machine. So we think about they need to know what a Rube Goldberg machine is, they need to understand force, work, motion, they need to understand how to work together in a team because there's a lot of teamwork that needs to happen. They need to understand the design process and how to really design something and design it well, and how to iterate on your design if something doesn't work, how to be resilient when you're designing something. And so for the structure that we created was a series of what Chicago called workshops and what we call strands, but they're really the same thing, where they're participating in these strands to gain the skills, and then it's always important to us that they have time to play with the materials and do the work and then iterate. And then the other part of it that Allison really would be able to speak to is this opportunity to share. There's always an opportunity to share. So that's the structure of it. And then when we moved to 7th and 8th grade, it was really, we wanted teachers to have to be really interested in something and share something with students that they were really interested in. So following that same kind of trajectory for planning, it always starts with the systems thinking ideas. It's always a backwards planning model. The teachers followed a similar process, but individually rather than kind of a whole grade level. So that's the way that it worked. The process for teachers designing worked. I think Dan, did you?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so I was just going to harp on the interest factor there for teachers, that once we get to 7th and 8th grade, it really is about letting the teacher kind of find out what they're most interested in, and that really sparks where they want to go to. I think Kate can speak better about this than anybody else, but yeah, of course. But it's also not just about interest, it's about finding time for the teachers to have planning for this, which is, as all teachers know, incredibly difficult. And then also, as Arana said, providing space for sharing, both for students and for teachers to share with each other. And for 7th and 8th grade, there's actually more space for that for a couple of reasons. And then providing collaborative structures, whether that's through kind of shared documents or other spaces. And Kate is across the table.
Hi. So the way that the teachers, I was actually a lead teacher for the 7th grade, and the way that Mission Lab and our Studio Q time, our professional development time, really helped us work on our projects was giving us time to sort of brainstorm ideas as teachers, and then the other teachers got to give feedback. So for instance, Martin, one of our wellness teachers, he wanted to do something around golf, and he just needed like a little bit more help, so we were able to give him ideas about maybe field trips he can go on, places that might have like mini golf, driving ranges. So just kind of bringing the idea up to a group and having teachers say, oh, maybe you should, read this short story. Maybe you should go to this location. Helped give people a structure for the experiences that are already sort of obvious in the Rube Goldberg machine. You need to know about simple machines. But maybe in the MoMA activity, you actually need to know what people expect to see in a classic work of art. And we need to deconstruct that and talk about what you might not see in a work of art in MoMA. And so that was really the structure that our week took. And we did a lot of art games that linked up with the Quest model, like we did Exquisite Corpse. We did, what were some of the other games we played?
We tried to play Marina Abramovich's game.
Oh, we played Marina Abramovich's game. She's an artist that had this work called The Artist is Present, and she just sat in the museum and stared at people. So we sort of
Really
empathized
cool.
with her by playing that, staring at each other. We also did this great literacy game where the kids did sort of, they walked around the galleries and listened to people.
And then we made a poem out of it.
And then they made poems, and then we made them calligraphs. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah,
they actually
poems
shaped
in
the
the shape.
poems
Yeah.
like, I would show it if my computer's working, but shaped like the theme of the poem. And so structuring those small activities makes the day sort of more reasonable as a teacher, and then knowing what those individual activities are going to lead up to. So having something be interactive if that was your goal. Having, you know, knowing the rules of golf is if that's your goal. So that's how the teachers work on it.
Cool, thank you, Kate.
Okay.
So we only have about like 2 or 3 minutes
Dan's
left.
doing
and
something, so you can change gears for a minute.
We still see you.
Oh, okay, they can still see
You're
us.
not
What other
screen
games
sharing
did we play?
All right, so we have about 3 minutes left, and there are a few questions that people have sent in, so I really want to get to them before we have to wrap up. So the first question comes from Randall, and he asks, is Quest coming up with any new ways to assess, measure all of these great non-academic skills that students are learning, such as design and systems thinking, 21st century skills, and non-cognitive character skills? Does anybody want to take that?
Sure. That's a great question.
Hope you're echoey.
It's a great question. We have
Right here.
Sorry. We have a set of competencies that that assess those skills. So we have a set of we at Quest to Learn believe that, you know, while the content competencies are important, such as English language arts, math, we believe in all of those. We also believe that you know, that these other kinds of skills are really important. So we've developed a set of competencies that measure those skills. That we have systems thinking competencies, we have design competencies, we have social-emotional learning competencies. So those measure things like teamwork, like collaboration, like empathy, like systems thinking, like iteration, digital media tool use, those kinds of things that aren't generally measured with regular state standards, we use to assess students.
Great, and then I think we just have time for one more question. All of the other questions will be posted at the bottom of this page after the webinar ends, but this question is from Jeremy, and this question is for the students, and he asks, does what you learn from boss level help you with your school subjects?
Yeah, so Brianna wants to answer this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so I think it does because it helps us work together more with people in our home base and with other people as well. And yeah, so like when we do group activities in our classes, it helps us to work together more as a team instead of just like yelling at each other or anything. I think it really helped us with that.
Cool, and anybody else?
Sasha wants to answer. Sasha, go ahead.
So, well, I agree. We do learn teamwork skills that we later use in our classes for projects and such things. But I also want to say that actually what you learned before then helps you with your boss level. So it's kind of the opposite way around. But the question my answer to your question is yes. We do learn a lot.
Like how?
Okay, so basically, sometimes it's just outside knowledge, and like teamwork skills we've learned before in other classes, and math, we had to use some math during our boss level.
We did?
To do what?
Oh, that other project?
Yeah.
Oh, that was some boss. Continue. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Great. Thanks, Sasha. Okay, so I think we need to wrap up. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Please join us next for the next episode of Playtime Online, which is on April 24th. We'll be kicking off a new series called Office Hours, which is exactly what it sounds like. So if you have a question or need feedback on a game or learning experience you're working on, drop us a note with your question or topic of choice for a chance to actually enter the Hangout in 2 weeks. And you can speak alongside of our office hour leads. It should be a really interactive and surprising hour. Please don't miss it. For updates on Playtime, please sign up for our mailing list. Just click the Join Us at the top of this page. Thank you for watching, and if you like what we're doing, please spread the word. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Bye.
Bye.